There's a lot more to building a shed than you might think. The low side of this is easy to reach, so we're gonna start at the bottom. Let's slide all the way down, Brad. And we're gonna just work our way right over the top. Again, we need to make sure that this all lines up before we drive those nails in. So we're just gonna tack it into place. And I know you've heard that before, but don't drive it in all the way home. We wanna make sure that we break here, and that means you have to have something for your next sheet to lean against, and we'll show you that in just a second. Well, there's tacking it in place, and the reason we need to do that is because you need to look along here, make sure that this is all square, even across the bottom and even up the side. We can rack those trusses a little bit if we need to, just to make sure that it's square. Let me go ahead and set this sheet up, and I'll show you what I mean by making sure that we break. This is what I mean when I say we have to make sure that we break. We gotta have something here to nail our sheeting to. And the reason that I'm nailing right here is because where this block is, this is not going to move. This is solid. So we're gonna go ahead and slide this piece in right where we want it, right there, and go ahead and tack it right next to the other one. We're nice and flush right here, and it's even with the bottom of this truss tail here. So as we come down, we go, well, this one's a little bit low, and this one's even lower yet. And that's a good reason for why we just tack this into place. What we'll need to do is pull some of those nails and just see if we can slide this all up so it's nice and flush here, then we won't have to trim it off. With both of these loose on everywhere except the ends, this moves around a little bit. And what happens is those tails on those trusses are all pre-cut, so they're not gonna be exactly perfect. So you may just have to move it a little bit and fudge just a hair, make them nice and even, and it'll look good when you get the fascia on there. Now that we've got it tacked in down low, let's go ahead and tack this corner in right where we want it, right on the edge. That way it's going to be nice and square. We use the plywood to square it up. Okay, now what we have to do is we've already talked about it. It's called pulling layout. What we're gonna do is pull that right off of the edge and mark exactly 24 inches over each one of these trusses. And what that does is gives us a mark to nail the truss right to, because you see that truss still moves. We got 24 inches, we'll go ahead and nail that one right down there. Well, now that we've pulled layout on this, we know this top piece is gonna break perfectly. And you know what that means now, right? I've been walking around on the roofs of buildings for a long time, so I'm pretty comfortable up here. And at some point, you'll need to get up on top of the building. So remember, all those nails that we've been putting in, just tacking this into place, those are serious tripping hazards. Pay attention, be careful, watch your step. Here's one more thing you're going to want to keep in mind. Whether you're building a shed or a custom home, you want to do what's called staggering your seams. And what that means is we've started off with a 4-foot piece here, and the next piece we're going to use is an 8-foot piece. And what that does is add strength to this joint. And you do that all the way along. 4-foot piece, 8-foot piece, 4-foot piece. And once you get to the end, you'll have the opposite on the other end of the house. It adds a lot of strength to whatever you're building. Like I said, there's a lot to putting this shed together. Next thing we're going to do is put this trim on, and then we can set our metal edging across the top of the sheeting onto that trim, and we're ready for shingles. We're ready to put the metal edging on here, and what this is going to do is cover up this exposed edge, soon to not be exposed, of the OSB. And what that's going to do is just protect it from the elements and give us a nice finished edge on our roofing. I'm going to try to do this all the way down in one piece, and I'll show you how to do that. We're going to start with the top of it right at the peak, and you can just eyeball that right down the peak there. Then just put a tack right in here. Wow, I wonder if that one's long enough. I think they mixed up my nails. And then we'll just go right down to this corner here. Be careful on your ladder. We're just gonna eyeball right down there and put us a mark right here. Take my snips right up to that mark that I just made. And then we'll just fold that right straight down. Wow, looks like it was made for that spot. Now we're gonna get tricky. We're gonna wrap this around so it ties into that straight piece. We're gonna make 2 quick cuts. One right here on this little drip edge, and one right across, even with the face of that fascia. And it'll just bend right around the corner. Just go right straight out to the edge and bring that underneath just like that. What you might want to do is just clip these corners off here so that it doesn't catch you when you're walking around the corner, because that could be dangerous. Well, that's the metal edging. We're going to go do the same thing on the other end. Something you may want to consider is that you could put this on after the felt and it will actually hold the felt down. If you're doing a house where you've got a heated space inside, you want to use ice and water shield. That's going to stick tight to this and seal it up nice. But for a shed, this is really good. It's real easy and you don't need ice and water shield.